You are live.
Great. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission regular meeting agenda. The board meeting, June 26, 2025. At this point, I need the recording of member of attendance. Everybody is here except for a representative from SNBSC. All right. Chairperson Bonnie is that actually at home in Bramanand. So she'll be coming in through the meeting that way. There is a quorum. Any acknowledgement of visitors. I don't think there's any visitors. Conflict of interest. Your opportunity to declare a conflict. Adoption of the agenda. I need a motion for that. Okay. Harry. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed. Adoption of the minutes of the board meeting of May 22nd, 2025. I need a motion for that. Jim? Seconded by Al. Okay, question or comment on that motion to adopt the minutes of May 22nd, 2025. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's passed. Business arising from the previous meeting, none. New business tonight is go to Hollis, I guess. The first item is community wildfire resiliency plan application.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to share my screen here. Sorry. Okay. I just brought this up on the screen for a little bit of reference, but this came to me actually from Jim, brought it to my attention not very long ago, and I spoke briefly about it at our committee meeting. But the intent is that there's some funds that have been released from the federal government and is being dispersed through the provincial government, the DNR, and with the Fire Smart organization, and this started, I believe, in BC, but it's now a national thing across the country, and they do a variety of programming and different concentrations on wildfire and wildfire resiliency. So there's an opportunity to apply for the Community Wildfire Resiliency Plan to have that done in our region. It wouldn't be done by us internally, it'd be done by an external organization. This came quickly because the deadline to apply is June 30th. So I've been in conversation with DNR. The application won't take very long to complete. Like it if the board would make a motion for us to apply for this. And for information, I've already gotten a couple of quotes on creating such a plan. I brought one sort of example here, and the cost of doing this would be $152,000. It is 100% funded. We do have to pay up front, so it's a cost recovery cost. But that's okay. We can handle that. It's a good opportunity, and what's involved is in this particular plan is they'll create the work plan, they'll do some public engagement, then they'll do a draft of the wildfire resiliency plan, make some recommendations on risk mitigation, and then the full draft will be available after that point. And what this entails is it's a variety of things. So some of it is community engagement, so public education, things like that about wildfire and resiliency. And some of it has to do with even when you're building a structure or a home or anything, about how close, softwood trees are, that kind of type of thing. Some of it is developing some plans for emergency response, and that would be for rural roads and things like that, escape routes. Some of this information is going to be very valuable for our planning department. Get into plans and subdivisions and things like that are in a rural wooded area. There's some considerations that we do take into place now, and we've already dealing with that kind of stuff now. This gives us a little more information for that type of thing. And it's going to involve some mapping of the region itself, and kind of pointing out high risk areas and things like that. And then the eventual recommendations on next steps to take if we're to go.
So I'm looking for a motion from the floor to apply for this grant, I guess is.
Yeah.
Ken
Yeah, also.
and Jim seconded. Question or comment on the motion then? Should be a lot of questions, is there? Okay.
Yeah. I
Go,
have a couple.
Danny.
So I know Fundy Shores we put in for it.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering for 152,000. Seems low, I guess, if I'm thinking of the quote I got for just Fundy Shores.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So I'm just wondering what, I know you outlined there what we're getting, but I guess just comparing the two quotes, what are we getting regionally compared to what, like, say, St. Stephen or?
I think the idea that this plan would be a little bit more high level. Right, so your local plans are going to be more granular on actual strategies and things like that within the municipality, where ours are going to be more high level and probably more concentrated on the rural district than anywhere, I would think. Didn't get enough time to get enough details out of them. I did get another quote, which was less than this. I'm not going for lowest quote here. Obviously, it's 100% funded anyway, but it is curious that yours would be more, right?
I don't think it was more, but it was close, like just for a Fundy Shores one. I think
I think
don't, yeah,
78,000.
I think ours was over 100.
You got a lot of wooded area, maybe?
Yeah,
you would.
And so,
That's the way you.
oh yeah, it's way up, that's right up against, Grand Bay, like up all along the line, and right up to the rural district.
It could be because a lot of the actual work is the same, right? So the report is going to be similar. The writing of the report, the recommendations are going to be similar. It's just this is a bigger area.
But at the end of the day, don't, not that it doesn't matter, but if it's 100% funded through a grant, it's not like, I'm just
Yeah.
curious on
Uh,
the two how one little area can be that much, and then the whole region is like.
Could just be that it's a function of it's the same steps that a consultant would have to go through, and it's just not sure, but that would be my guess.
But the question is, should Denny or myself be doing it? Because we'd have to make sure if it is more in depth or more detailed in our region or our communities.
I think that both of you have unique situations that could be addressed differently too, right? So you're going to have certain other considerations that nobody else is going to have. And St. Stephen's going to have different considerations because of borders and things like that as well. I'm not sure.
With this one, well, it would kind of coincide with the local ones. It wouldn't take away or anything.
Oh,
Wouldn't
no, in fact, I think they would work together. well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So how did
Sorry,
you
Jim?
guys?
Just a question. When I first read this, is this the first stage in a series of steps for addressing grants further on? For example, for the emergency response and the community engagement and the mitigations. Did I understand it right that there may be other grants coming later to cover those particular things?
That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
And so that once you have this sort of high level plan, you should be creating these particular plans so that there's a fill a cascade out of that, right?
Yes, that's what I was, that's what way I understood it, just that would be what would happen.
Yeah, we had a presentation by Fire Smart for Safety Month.
Any other questions or comments on this? Harry, did you have something?
Oh,
No, Bonnie, did you have anything? I sometimes I don't see, you didn't have a hand up, okay, no? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. I'm contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Next item, letter of support, heavy industrial tax, I'll have to explain this a little bit for the public and us, I guess, both.
Actually, I would probably turn this over to Denny more than me.
Yep.
When I did you want me to read the letters? I can just for the public after we're done, just
Remember that.
for the motion and yeah, that would be, yeah. So I did, get 2 letters drafted up or done up and sent out to, I actually sent them to Bonnie and to Hollis and they distributed them to the boards. And it's basically what we spoke about at the last meeting. So 2 of them, one is on retaining heavy industrial property tax. Not only, I guess this one's from me for hours, but it would pertain to the region, anybody that has heavy industry in their municipality. And the second one is supporting for nuclear sector at Point LaPro. So I guess that would be, again, would happen in Fundy Shores, but would help the whole region. That talks about small modular reactors as another, I shouldn't say can do, but another secondary reactor. So do you want me to read these before I make the motion or make the motion and then
I
read them?
just got a question. In the letter, does it explain what we're talking to, or is it just a letter to say that you're for it? Because right now, the public are just hearing the words heavy industrial tax. And is there some explanation to all this before somebody says we're for it? That's what I like.
Well, it
Is that-
does.
I didn't read the letter, so honestly.
Yeah. No, it does a bit in there, but I guess for the heavy industrial tax, it would be
Mhm.
that the municipalities, all of us, would, whatever heavy industry we have in our municipality,
Right.
that we keep the full amount of the tax within the municipality. Right now, that's divided up and the government takes a big chunk of that and we
Okay.
only get a small percentage.
Gotcha,
I
okay.
guess that,
No, I just like to get that explanation
Yep.
on the floors.
no, that's,
People listening is something all brand new. They might be thinking there's a brand new tax. I don't want people getting too excited.
The other piece of this is, that the province is taking the tax, but
Mhm.
the communities are carrying the weight of the industry.
That's right.
You know, the
Infrastructure.
heavy trucks, all that, you know, those sort of things are going on in your neighborhoods, and there's more wear and tear on your roads and stuff.
Gotcha.
So you gotta get a piece, and some are affected by it more than others, obviously, because definitely.
Actually, Kenny.
and yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, the sheet breaks it down
Yeah.
what it is, and yes, Fundy Shores is
Yeah,
is gaining a lot, but as I said back in the last meeting is, what we gain, with that is everybody gains, because again, it helps if our budget is doing very well, then we can continue doing well throughout the region.
and I know we talked about this, but myself said, but the other thing I'm concerned would be is we don't wanna see, that's why I wanna say it publicly, that, all right, give up this, but then take away something else.
Equalization grant. That's it.
Well, No, and more, like, we don't want this to interrupt where we're at today.
So I can read the letter and both them, I'll read both of them and then I'll make the motion. I know Bonnie did make a comment, suggestion around it, so maybe I'll read them, then make the motion, and then if it doesn't sit right, if anybody wants to amend it, we can certainly do that. Because I did bold it and put in there new funding only, so. All right, so the first letter is for the heavy industrial property taxes and it is sent to Premier Holt. So, Honorable Premier, local governments share the responsibility of delivering services that directly support our residents and the industries operating within our communities. Today, the mayors of Southwest New Brunswick are writing to seek your government support in local governments retaining the full property tax revenues collected from heavy industrial properties within our respective jurisdictions. We find that heavy industry places significant demands on services, including emergency, planning, infrastructure, inspection, etc. The property taxes collected from these operations would act as new funding to support operational and capital budgets within our communities. They would allow for additional necessary and direct investment in the local government's capacity and enable a more robust service to residents and industry alike. The decentralization and redistribution of these revenues from the province would be invested in the communities and would positively impact the financial sustainability of many local governments, particularly those hosting large-scale industrial operations, and strengthen our ability to provide core services, maintain infrastructure, and plan responsibly for future growth. Southwest New Brunswick and its communities join us in formally requesting that the province allow local governments to keep property taxes collected from the heavy industrial tax rate to be used within the communities in which the development occurs. Also, these funds need to be classified as a new vital revenue stream and not used to replace other revenues currently allocated. Thank you for considering this important matter. Together, we can ensure that our communities remain strong, increase our self-sufficiency, and equip us to support both our residents and local economies. Sincerely, and then I'll have the spot for all the mayors. And on that too, just a quick note on that letter, and that was also, this has been spearheaded a little, mostly, I guess, by the city of St. John. So I just wanted to put that for the record as well, that Mayor Reardon has really taken this forward.
You're sort of capturing what I think we should mention too, because with this funding can also give us more capacity to encourage more development, more industry, which is more taxes.
Yep.
For both parties, right? But you kind of say residents and industry alike, be more robust service to residents and industry alike, but it just feels like we're just looking after what's already existing. We could use that funding to help us develop industrial parks bigger or
Yep.
and just to encourage more development.
Yep.
So, but maybe it's fine the way it is. I just want to bring it.
Okay, yeah, and
I'd just like to add that to me, it's important that we get this right now. But down the road, as the growth occurs, it's already in place, and we can take advantage of that later on as well. You touched on it, with the growth.
Yeah.
I think in our region, with the new nuclear power plant, the small modular reactors, yeah, we need to support this.
I have a question. Who sets the classification for what is industrial or heavy industrial?
I believe the problem.
Yeah, be
The province, so the province decides if something is in
Department of Finance.
the Department of Finance. And is there a criteria?
There might be, I just couldn't.
I've been kind of looking into this and I've never been able to find out, so that's why I'm asking.
Okay, I guess at this point, everybody's asking questions and commenting, but we haven't got a motion on the floor to do that yet. So what I need.
Do you want me to do the individual letter or read the next one first?
Okay, is the next letter,
Separate?
there are two separate issues.
Okay.
I think.
So,
So why don't we take one at a
so on
time?
the retention of heavy industrial property taxes, I would make the motion that we accept this letter to send to Premier Holt
For all mayors to sign.
For all mayors.
Yeah.
to sign.
We have a motion on the floor by Danny, seconded by, okay, Harry. Question or comment, now we can open it up. Yeah.
Oh, somebody's got their hand up.
Oh, Bonnie, how things in Grand Banana?
Great as always. My comment, which I think I put in an email earlier this week, was I wondered if we could strengthen the part around this should not be seen as a replacement for the fiscal reform process that's already underway, because I mean, I think, Alan, you've made the comment like it shouldn't replace existing money, like a in-out type of thing. I also don't think that this solves the fiscal issues that municipalities are facing either, or at least for most of us. And I would hate to see us win on this one, but not maybe go as far as we could be on the other side of it. I know you've got the line in there about it's new money, but I just thought if there was some way we could outline that maybe a little bit stronger, I'd feel more comfortable with the letter.
You could tack on the end, where it says also these funds need to be classified as new vital revenue stream and not used to replace other revenues currently allocated, comma, fiscal reform activities notwithstanding, or something like that.
Friendly amendment, I presume.
And I'm thinking, what, the motion maybe just to send a letter, and we can figure out the wording later, maybe?
I think for this,
We could be here all night, figure out a word here.
yeah, but I think for this one, the public record needs to kind of,
Right, okay.
And again, I apologize a bit on it because I thought new funding, and then when I bolded it to make it standard, I thought that might suffice, and then when I read your comment, yeah, not willing to change whatever the board feels and amend it however everybody's comfortable with for sure.
Okay, is the person making the motion and the person doing the second, they're all right with that amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, good. These are just small changes in it.
Yeah,
So is it, as Hollis stated, that this fiscal reform activities notwithstanding, is that what we're,
Mhm.
or do you want what Bonnie sent in an email?
yeah, did you get the first part of what Paul said before that? Just that there was a few words he said, or did you read that? Right?
Just read those.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
all right,
yeah,
Okay,
because I
yeah.
wrote it as he was saying, the
Ah,
fiscal reform
okay,
activities.
yep, I'm good.
So is that good, Bonnie, with fiscal reform? Good that way? Perfect.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the amended motion, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Contrary, that's passed unanimously. Next.
Did you want me to just do that and send it back out to everybody with that change electronically to sign it, or?
Or you want us to, what time sign those, this again?
Right,
No,
we might not even have to, if it's been.
No, I can sign on behalf of,
Yeah,
do it that way. Just,
just their names.
We voted on it, right?
Yeah,
But I just want to say one last little thing. With that one there, as well as the second one that's coming up. When I spoke to Don Reardon, I suggested that both RSCs put letters in at the same time.
so just on that, there was a couple things that happened this week, so RSC, I don't know, Fundy Region, they have sent a letter.
Okay.
So they approval, and I guess I was gonna follow up on that if I didn't feel that there was consensus or anything to kind of say that. And I had a meeting yesterday with John Williamson, and John supported us on all nuclear activities and was kind of, him and Wayne were pushing, and he said he didn't mind me dropping his name to the board to kind of support it as well, and so.
oh, you're on to the next topic though.
Okay, now the question I got here is this is new business, right? And the name of it is what?
Oh, this one?
Yes.
Support for nuclear energy sector projects at Point LaPro.
This is actually wasn't on the agenda tonight, and so we have to vote to put this on the agenda. I don't see it on mine, is that correct?
yeah, no.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering
But
earlier.
that's all, it's no big deal, we can add it to, what I need is
I'll make a motion
to add this to the agenda. Harvey's making that. Second by Ken. Question or comment to add this to the agenda tonight? Yeah, all those in favor of adding it to the agenda, signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's passed unanimously. Okay, you go ahead.
No, no problem.
We'll do it
I
right.
want to make sure, I want to make sure it's right, 'cause these are two big ticket
Yep,
items.
yep.
So this one will be going to the Prime Minister, to Mark Carney, and that's who it's listed to. Support for nuclear energy sector projects at Point LaPro. Dear Prime Minister Carney, we, the mayors of the Southwest region of New Brunswick, are writing to you today to support Premier Susan Holt and the provincial government's push for large-scale nuclear energy development at the Point LaPro nuclear generating station, along with future development of small modular reactors. We agree that these developments are significant nation-building projects that will generate and assist us in providing clean, reliable, and net zero power to our Atlantic Canadian neighbors, Quebec, and the state of Maine, which aligns with the federal government's vision of Canada being an energy superpower. The rural community of Fundy Shores has been the host of the only nuclear power plant east of Ontario, providing approximately 660 megawatts of clean and net zero energy since 1981. It has proudly held an overwhelmingly supported social license to host nuclear and looks forward to expanding its capacity at the Point LaPro site. Our region currently benefits from the approximately 1,300 jobs at the Point LaPro nuclear generating station, which contributes $287 million to the overall provincial GDP. 130.5 million is from the southern region alone. As a region whose population is aging, we believe that projects like these will attract more skilled workers and younger families to our region and province. We invite yourself, along with Ministers LeBlanc, Hodgson, and Secretary of State Long, to come to our region to support the large-scale nuclear energy development at Point LaPro. And I would ask that
Okay, you're moving to accept that, okay? Seconder,
I'm second.
okay?
You're only sending that to him, you're not sending it to the premier?
Yeah, well, there's
Just
a-
you
no.
understand that they're in there.
Yeah,
You didn't know
if there's a
if-
whole list on the back,
Oh, okay, okay.
that are CC'd on it, so, yeah.
No, the only reason I said that, because like when I got air police, she was the one that got me to that next level, right?
Yeah. No, they're all there.
Just misspelling in my name there. Got it, the right one on the first one, but. I mean, I don't, it's just calling me Al, but for this, I'd like keep it moving. Like your other one, Alan.
No, yep, no.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, that's passed unanimously.
She'd second page, so then.
That brings us to staff report. I'm gonna turn it all over to Holly.
Pretty. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first report I have is solid waste. This is submitted to me by the Director of Solid Waste. The activities, ongoing landfill activities, recycle transfer activities. We're doing some capping on top of the waste cells. We're dewatering the area, which is the next area where we're going to do some construction. And so it's kind of a low area, so they've been doing a little bit of work to get ready for that. We do those kinds of activities kind of between other activities, so because there's no rush to build anything. So when we get an opportunity, we go ahead and do some work down there. Our new landfill, or our new compactor is due mid-July. That's when it's scheduled. We had 3 small fires that we identified and extinguished. We didn't have to call in any fire departments for those ones. 2 of them were on the working face. One was in the recycling building. And all 3 were due to lithium batteries or devices with embedded batteries in them. We had an HHW and other day on Saturday, June 14th. It was really successful. We did a lot of promotion ahead of that with social media, and we had quite a few visitors out to the facility, bringing a lot of stuff and a variety of different things, including paint and some battery containing things and some other waste oil. Yeah, I guess 9 boxes of batteries. That's pretty good. Some other chemicals and things like that. So that's I call that successful. We don't want to take our foot off the gas of promoting, bringing out those kind of materials. So you'll see some more promotion for our next one. There were provincial meetings at solid waste, and ELG has informed the committee, the solid waste committee, that they are going ahead with they're trying to figure out what to do about organics and organics separation from landfill, which is something that they want to implement starting 2028, which I think might be a little bit ambitious, but they're not letting go of that one, and so we're going to have to do something about organics probably at some point. I've mentioned this before, but it's something you should start thinking about. And anyway, we'll see how that goes. It depends on what the requirement is. We don't know actually what the requirement is at our end for organics.
This question now for this,
Sure. Go ahead.
just curious, like, where does that lie with us? Is that fall in the recycling category? Recycling materials, or does that fall into?
Falls into a new category of organics.
Okay,
So,
who's got that category?
well, right now it's all in the garbage, right? So it's a single collection that you have.
Right, so I understand, but once we separate it, who's got that category?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
It's likely going to fall on municipalities to do the collection, but the collection is going to have to be separated. The idea is going to be that organics can't go directly in the landfill from our residential waste. So what we do with it at the solid waste facility remains to be seen. The cleanest, simplest, least expensive thing to do is windrowing. So we clear out an area, we put down a clay liner, we line up all the organics, and then they have to be flipped over with like a loader every so often until it becomes inert, and then it'll end up back in the landfill anyway. but at that point it would be off gas.
So my next question is, so when we're gathering organics, is it already been through its own process at home first, and then it can just go in? Okay,
That wouldn't be there long. Or you
So-
hope it wouldn't be there long.
So to give you an example of other places that do this, and there are two other jurisdictions in New Brunswick that do this now, St. John and Moncton. And Nova Scotia's had it by legislation for years and years. So the way it works in Nova Scotia, everybody has a green cart, similar to your recycling cart, a little smaller. That goes out every week with your organics. And then 1 week you can put out your garbage, the next week you can put out your recycling with it. Your garbage has to go in a clear plastic bag. And if there's organics or recycling in it, it gets red tagged and not collected. That is actually law, not voluntary. That's how it works in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. And I listen to my buddies, they just set things on the counter and said, you put it wherever. Because that's,
Yeah.
right, because they'll leave it right in your driveway if you don't have, they look in the bag and it's got something in it, they leave it right in your
It's
driveway.
so convoluted.
Yeah.
The problem with it is it means an extra collection for municipalities. And that means you're paying.
well, sorry. Yeah, but I think might be a wash from what you just told me, though. You just, what they're doing, they do garbage with their bags, recycling.
They have split trucks. So a truck goes down, it'll take two things.
Oh,
Compost goes in the front. It's got like two arms. Compost goes in the front and then either garbage or recycling goes in the back.
I think there's two ways to think about this. Don't they take the don't they make stuff the Marion with compost?
Yeah.
Wonder if we could make some kind of deal and ship it over there, maybe they'll give us something for it.
hmm.
Well, they would never give you anything for it. You'd have to pay it. You'd have to pay to tip it. Yeah, you'd have to pay to tip it.
But they do have a compost in place right there, they make a seafood compost right now.
Yeah. I've seen it.
So what is the purpose of this? Why is there this rush to save the planet?
Greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, but we've been trying to capture that at the landfill for years, unable to catch it. They even keep the.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
So why do we try to protect ourselves from? That's what.
Also sabotaging other gas wells that we have in that. New materials they're decomposing to create the next layer of gas, which would.
Except for all the organics that we already collect from our neighbors across the border, which have to go in the landfill. We're not, those don't come separated.
Yes.
I lived it in Nova Scotia, and it was absolutely horrible living there with the garbage police coming around and people eventually do get used to it, don't get me wrong. And it becomes ingrained, but I don't know how that's gonna go over here.
Sounds like a steep learning curve.
There's unofficially, there is some work being done, I won't say by who or where, on what the actual net result of doing this is and how I don't think we actually win anything because you have to have a separate collection, so separate diesels, separate vehicles, separate that kind of stuff. So that adds to carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And then we're basically just putting it in a different pile that has its own emissions. It's different because it's composting, but then once it's done, it goes back in the landfill. So we didn't save any space. And the actual cost financially and to the environment of actually doing this. The hypothesis is that it completely offsets any carbon emissions that we would save.
The other thing I'd like to know is, this is probably called composted soil. Is that another name that could be used for it?
Yes, yeah.
Cause I know there are companies. They make money out of it.
But the difference is that municipal compost is different. If you're making compost because you want to make compost, like if you're a farm or if you're doing backyard composting, that's a different process than municipally collected compost, which is going to be contaminated. You cannot use that or any agriculture. You cannot use that for food production. You cannot use that for anything else. The only thing we're gonna do with it is make landfill cover. Really, I mean, there's nothing else we can do with it. And the cost of trucking it kind of,
That was my next question. I was just wondering, a place, small place like home, we'd be almost better off to do it, use it as compost or something. You know what I mean? If we had it at our new facility when we get it, but if you're.
you could do your own, sure.
Yeah, but you're not, but I was thinking if we done it and then people could buy it, you know, you're saying, yeah. So that's not gonna work.
Now, the other thing that they had to do in Halifax is they had to bring another law in, stating that you couldn't have a carburetor. Because everybody was putting their produce down a carburetor and it was going. to hurt it.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at this, there's a lot of depth to it and a lot of breadth in this that you have to look at. Before we, I think, before we agree to anything. Cause from what I saw in Nova Scotia, I'd be adamant with it both.
Our first steps is and there's a group of us, it's not just me and Mike, there's a group of us across the province that are questioning the actual. I don't think we're winning anything with this, right? So first of all, is we're trying to, if they actually put out legislation and actually are forcing it, then we'll have to look at how we handle it. But before we even get there, we're gonna try to maybe not get there at all.
Go ahead.
So we had this similar discussion when we did recycling.
Mhm.
And the way I looked at it, I mean, I brought it up, you're gonna have separate hauling, a separate facility to handle it. We're doing more with it at home, like rinsing cans and hot water and all that stuff. So, but in the end of the day, it ended up being a wash. So, and then it was a positive move forward for the same cost, I guess. So my question is this one gonna be the same way, you know, either more?
The difference is we're not selling this stuff.
Yeah, the other stuff we are, or I guess we're not doing anything with it now, the circular materials does it.
No, that's a EPR program now, so that's a producer responsibility. They pay for the program, they do it. It's completely different with organics.
Cause there is no tax getting collected on it.
I know there's probably people watching this tonight. Can you specify what organic is? Can you give some examples?
So organics is all of your food waste.
That's pretty simple.
But things like baby diapers,
No, that would be garbage.
that would be garbage, that would still go in with garbage.
Unless they're compostable baby diapers, which I'm not sure exist, but
So if you don't have a dog at home to eat that stuff, yeah.
That's what I mean, dog takes care of it.
Dog, I get it. Hey, throw the board, dog.
backyard composting is better. It's a different process. So for instance, in Nova Scotia, if you're creating your own compost, there are certain things you put in, certain things you don't to make compost because you want to use that compost in your garden. Municipal composting is anything that's organic, and that includes bones, whatever, right? And the stuff you would not put in your regular compost, but it would go in because it's an organic.
A lot of education here. I think it'd be done.
Actually,
There's going to be a huge public education component.
you can buy tabletop dehydrated type things that do turn your compost into get rid of the moisture. A lot lighter.
And we haven't even talked about what the tipping fee would be because we can't do it for free. So it might be the same as garbage but organics are heavier, like it's a denser. So yeah, there's a whole lot of complications coming up if this happens. Honestly, the simplest thing to do is put it in the landfill because the landfill is nothing but a big compost heap at the end of the day anyway. Just some stuff takes a lot longer than other stuff to decompose, but we're collecting gas there now. And the better we can do at collecting gas off the landfill, and the better we can demonstrate that, you know, that's our argument. We're already doing it. So that's where that sits.
Wonderful.
I do have, there is Mike has a recommendation to make a motion because we do need to transfer some money out of capital into operating for the purchase of the landfill. The contractor. see at the end of the report.
Okay, so do we have a dollar figure, Jim, you got?
Yeah, it's already in the package.
Okay.
So I would move that, I recommend, that a transfer of $1,357,000 from the capital account to the operating account for the purchase of the new landfill compactor.
We have a motion on the floor, we need a second by Harvey.
Very good. Yes, whoever wants.
Okay, I gotta wait a minute, because Al's in the room, second, we have to come back to vote.
You get a question?
Yeah, you go ahead, yeah.
Didn't we already, is this the second part or didn't, and that's just for me for clar, did we already transfer money before for
No.
the compact?
No,
We
we just
approved the.
made a motion to
Right.
purchase it.
And I thought we moved,
Move it.
I
this
thought we
isn't
moved
like that.
something at one point.
A garbage compact, but this is something you
Yeah,
put on the
like
landfill and push it down, is that-
You drive
that's what I was
a
wondering.
big tractor with a big steel.
Cause you always thinking, when we first started talking about this, in my head, I was thinking about like, those things that the cardboard and all that stuff, I said, geez, that seems like a lot of money, but.
Where's this being made?
Germany.
Germany.
Maybe that's why we had discussion around it. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right, is it?
Homemade.
Homemade. That's what it is.
And this was for the full, like this is the full amount, this page.
That's the full amount, yeah.
Okay, we have got a motion on the floor, any other questions or comments on the motion?
With mine.
Transferring.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, we're off this now.
Just with that one right there.
Oh, yeah, I'm already on to that, yeah.
If there's no questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's Kathy. Awesome.
Okay, just finally, there was a couple of pictures that, Andrew had given me. We have a drone. We have a new drone at the landfill and Andrew's now licensed to do it. We used to have to pay somebody to do this. So now we just do it ourselves, save some money, but also we can do it a lot more often, more accurately. So that was a recent picture of the landfill as it is right now. But one of the things that we can do up here is, so that's elevations. Red is the high point, blue is the low point kind of thing. So he gets volume calculations and all kinds of stuff out of this. We calculate for maximum compaction and concentration. And if you see, so we're right here right now. So that took 28 years to build. And when I started 7 years ago, we were about there. So, yeah, we've got some space.
Most of the line go all the way down, what's that all about?
That's where, when I started, that's where we were. We built this cell now. Sorry about my terrible drawing here. But that's where we are. So that's what we built in 27 years.
So the question, how much of it is capped? All of it or just?
Yeah.
So it's all capped around say the orange and the lightest green.
Yeah.
When you think about it though, that's not a very big area for that many years. Is it really? No.
That's why
If you take 27 years, you think, man, that's
why the compaction.
Never did that.
So yeah, that's the big area that looks on that whole picture, but that's the big area, but still, for all of us.
Well, you,
And the American garbage.
right, yeah, I mean, really, it's not horrible.
No, that's it. And where we are right now, just a close up of what we're doing. See. Second. So that's. We're trying to make sure there's not very much garbage uncovered, so there's enough cover there to. So, problem we had about a year ago is when we had the big fire. And we had just peeled back the top. And when we did that, a lot of it was uncovered and it was just a perfect storm of, it's 27 degrees at midnight that night. The wind was blowing, some battery started a fire. It just at the right time, just as the crew was leaving, and it was just a variety of things that happened. That big fire. So now it's much more contained. So if it did catch fire, it's not gonna go as far or as much. Compactor, by the way, is that blue thing you see.
If a fire does start. Would it burn right to the bottom?
Well, that's what we don't want to have happen.
Right.
Then we're in a mess,
Yeah.
a really expensive mess. But we do now have a camera that looks at the landfill face all the time. It's a heat camera. It's got AI built in, and it'll send notifications if it detects a fire, and it does work. We're having some fine tuning the field of view that it's got and how far it can see, and that kind of stuff has been a little bit challenging. So they've been working with that quite a bit. But that's that's going to be a lifesaver at some point. That'll easily pay for itself one fire.
The camera, was it the camera that picked up on the two little fires, or was it just
No,
operators?
because that was during operation.
That was operators that spotted.
Yeah, one of them was that drone.
Yeah. Okay,
Somebody threw a drone in the garbage,
okay.
and we drove over to the fire. And happened to be the day that the school kids were there. So he was able to actually go on the bus because we don't look on the landfill. He's actually be able to go on and show them that, hey, here's a drone that somebody threw out that caught on fire that started a fire. So good learning opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add to that, I just saw on the news yesterday, the day before, about, they're talking about, e-bikes
Yeah.
and charging your batteries in the house they're asking you not to do it at night while you're sleeping,
Mhm.
and have an area that's like, should be in your house, is what they're saying.
Lithium batteries are, I was trying to explain to somebody, you can look around. I bet you have 50 things at home that have them. Everything from solar lights to, your phone to your anything, right? There's so many things. This has got one. That one's got one. That one's got one. One up there. Like I can look around this room and probably find 12 things that have lithium ion batteries in them. And they are so prevalent in everything that it's becoming a real problem.
So do you think it's because there's just so much out of it, there is gonna be incidents? Because we have the gas things too, and I just,
It's a tough thing to regulate.
you're right, after you say that, it's almost, I almost scared to look in this room right now.
I can see.
Yeah.
I can see 12 things right now.
TV, whatever that thing, yeah. So. Yeah, I just wanna know if there's just so many of these products, as you can see right here, you go to your house, it's probably even more. The odds are against us, I guess, of faulty too.
Everything you get now that used to take, like AA batteries is going to be a rechargeable USB-C rechargeable device that has a lithium ion battery, like everything. And it's all imported under no standards. You get around CSA by having rechargeable batteries, because then you just have to have a CSA approved charger. The device doesn't have to be. So there's,
Yeah.
Brass clippers and your whippersnippers, they're all
power tools
power
are.
tools,
Yeah.
electric screwdrivers will hand operated things.
I know my lawnmower is that way now.
Yeah.
Battery.
And those batteries fit a lot of different things.
Work all right? Work all right?
Well, if I push it.
Yeah, let's still get a push.
Yeah, but they're so prevalent now in everything that.
Well, I had never thought of it before, but you just mentioned those solar lights.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, every fall, I take all those batteries and those solar lights, I put them in a plastic bag and I stick them in the drawer. So I know where they are come spring.
Yeah.
And that's fine as long as they don't rattle around and touch each other in short
Yeah,
Burn your house down.
not doing that anymore.
or get squished.
Yeah, I'll figure something out. Yeah.
You just got lucky last week.
Everybody's going home tonight, house cleaning.
I drive people crazy in my house, so I unplug a lot of those things before I.
We do ours every day.
All the kids' rooms for those boards and going up into the bed and stuff. We're online here. Yeah, so but no, I plug things, unplug a lot of things.
See, as part of the report there, that there's the roadmap that came from ELG of where they want to go. promoting circular economy, then 43 is organics. So this is what they've sort of outlined.
If no questions there, let's go ahead.
Report, Mr. Chair.
Anything else? Okay, what's your next report?
Local planning.
Yeah.
Building inspection. I got this late, so it didn't make it into the package that I sent out on Monday. But I'll go through some of the highlights of it.
Sure.
So in planning, finishing up the zoning bylaws for St. Stephen and St. Andrews. And those are going to go to doing a lot more with these bylaws, make them more visual and more user friendly. Some of it's pretty innovative, but it's good. Lead a downtown facade improvement grant program policy for St. Stephen. And there is a live searchable permit dashboard. I've seen the prototype of this. The beta is not, we're not releasing to the public yet. I had to go back and fix a few things on this, but the great part about this is it's basically just a map. They'll be on our website and you can zoom in or out to, you can zoom into any community or zoom out. Whatever area you're looking at, it'll give you, current value for that region, the different development, different things that have been public information, of course, but all that stuff. So you'd be able to tell sort of a map of where all the development is happening across the region. A few more things that have to be fixed up on that, and I would like to test it on maybe you guys first before I actually release it to the public. I'll probably send it out to you to have a look at. I'd like to get your feedback on it before we, because it's something we created in-house. So to date, year to date, in permits, their construction value is 32 million. Compared to a year ago, that was 18 million. But we've done that with less building permits, so 135 building permits compared to 148. And less development permits, 143 compared to 176 last year. A couple more subdivisions this year from last year, but the interesting piece of statistic here is that the number of dwelling units approved 2025 to date is 110. Last year in the same period was 47. This is with less building permits. So what's happening is they're higher density.
Yeah.
Multifamily, a lot more of that being permitted and built. That's good news.
It is, and that's very good. So the whole area needs it.
Yeah.
And that's without federal help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We just the need to do it. And
Who's in charge? And federal falls under the responsibility of the federal government, and they haven't helped us at all. That's why I get out there since we're on on TV.
In enforcement, we have 41 new enforcement files that we opened this year so far. 98 have been brought into compliance since we started this in 2023. Crack has met 5 times so far this year. June, they approved 1 legal non-conforming use suspension and provided views to Eastern Charlotte Council on rezoning for business. I have a time report.
Any questions on that report? Now we'll move ahead to the regional economic and workforce development.
Is provided in your package. The big news, of course, was the Southwest Business Summit. Quite successful, 160 delegates, workshops. There was 200 attended the gala. It was we had a lot of really good comments about it, and a lot of comment from the provincial folks who were like, this was the model for the rest of the province. So he's completing the feasibility study for the ZIP, the Zonal Immigration Partnership. Be done by the end of September. So hopefully either later this year or early next year, we'll be able to hire that person. That's fully funded by IRCC. In case you're wondering, that is a person that any newcomers to the region, they help them. They assist them with getting established and things that they need to, places they need to go, even like pointing them to Service New Brunswick or going with them or things like that. to get established. So that would be a big help. Province has increased the immigration allocations. And there's a couple of youth opportunity expos coming up in Grand and St. Andrews. There is some work happening with Huntsman, where they're trying to get a marketing study. They're trying to do some expansion or figure out what they're going to do at Huntsman. So we did a little bit with that. Study to look at future possibilities with the MDSS at airport. And there's going to be more word on that, I'm sure, in the coming month or two. And there's a new doctor, or sorry, St. Stephen. We allocated some of our promotional funds to help with some short-term housing with them. And the Southwest Welcome Package is being finalized, and we'll have that probably next month or so as well. Sure.
Question, immigration, you went over it quite fast, and I'm sure there's gonna be people watching. Can you explain immigration allocations? Because what does that really mean?
Means they're going to allow more people, which has been a problem, especially for our region. The cutback in immigration allowances at the federal level.
Well, that's what I was like thinking, the federal levels said they're gonna cut back, and now the province is announcing
So
over ahead, so that's why I'm like, and we're having trouble with housing now. With where to put people.
one of our biggest issues with seasonal workers is that we don't have enough immigrants to do the jobs.
Mhm.
So that's what that was about.
So there's a need.
There's a need, yeah, there's less people with like there's jobs that are going unfilled because we don't have people to do it.
It's holding back production.
No other questions? If not, I'm moving on to the next one, which is regional community development.
Okay, some more ongoing work in community development, connecting with some organizations. There was a governance workshop hosted on May 31st. It's quite successful. Wendy Keats did it. Wendy Keats, I've known her for a while. She'd done this work for a long time. Been very good at it. There is in case you don't get Ray's newsletter, I suggest signing up for it. I think there's a sign up on our website there somewhere, but there's a lot in it. There's something there for everyone. I'll put it that way. But a lot of really good information that he does send out every month. The OPT4 presentation, we had that presentation a couple of weeks ago. Thank you everybody for coming out. It was a really good turnout on both sides. It was really good turnout on the nonprofit side. And then we were quite impressed with the local government's turnout as well, councillors and you guys and everybody that came. Yeah. And I had that comment back from he's a president, CEO of music there, Stefan. They were quite impressed how everything went. And transportation, so ongoing support with Charlotte Dollar Ride. There was a requirement from the province in order to get funding. We had been getting funding to use this particular software platform that they want to standardize across the province. The issue is that unlike the rest of the province, we have a separate organization that provides the service. They've been doing a great job for 20 years. And they're so busy that for them to switch over to anything would be difficult. And this seems like a more cumbersome system than what they're already using. Like it's actually what they do now is actually quite good. So I've been making that argument on their behalf. But it turns out I'm not alone. Some of the other regions in the province have been struggling with this new system. So I believe we're going to see that requirement go away shortly. And I don't have an update yet on the RTSF application that we applied for. Capital money for transportation. buses. Right, I don't really have anything back, federal, so. Sure when it's gonna. Second page of that report is, from on our grant support services. Through all the details, but he's got, 3 new, 12 organizations. There's 8 projects that are active, 4 that are being researched. 9 organizations been connected to some funders. I'm gonna get him to do more details on the actual success and dollar amounts in reporting going forward. And then the grant database, I believe is complete or almost complete. So that's a database that's online, with the ability for people, just makes it much more streamlined to apply for grants. And, that's about the extent of my report, Mr. Chair.
Question or comment on that report? If not, we move ahead to the regional tourism promotion.
I don't have a report for that.
Okay. Is there a reason why we don't have a report?
She was in, forget the name of it, it's in Winnipeg anyway, it was the. They do it every year, it's the wholesale trade show for. Travel trade, travel, that's
I
what.
visited it. CEO report, this is your.
Usual graphs in the beginning. I do want to point out though that month of May saw an uptick in solid waste. It might just be a blip, but it could be a trend. I'm not sure yet.
Spring cleaning, maybe?
Yeah, but year over year,
I mean, every weekend it's rained, so that's what people. We get over it.
Maybe. maybe.
That's the only thing I can gather.
No, I don't
Let's clean the house, I've got nothing else to do. Yeah.
like to look at the trends over a long period. See
Yeah.
it. I think that the bottom graph there kind of shows that accumulation year to date, and you kind of see, you can almost picture the pile of garbage growing there. So it's kind of the same rates, a little less than last year, but we'll just wait out and see. There's no emergency here. I mean, we're not off from where I thought we were going to be. It's the most important part of that, and we'll get to that in the financials. So second page, the planning files, this is just a breakdown of what I've already told you about our planning files. Our building permits to date are 186 total. That's a building demolition permits. And I always like to include the website statistics so you can see just how many people are visiting and how busy that is, because it's not insignificant. 6,300 page views in a month. For just an information site where we're not actually selling anything is not bad. Couple thousand new visitors, so that's always good.
What peaks it up so much in January around it?
I forget what happened there in January. I think we did.
I'm wondering.
I'm thinking, they didn't, yeah, the recycling people didn't put it in a calendar.
That might have been it.
Right? Usually there's the annual calendar.
I remember
well,
that,
There's
yes.
none, so you can see what happens.
2,400 next for, that's what I said, that's what I wondered.
People will figure what the recycling day was in January.
Yeah, cause circular just kind of.
Yeah, and they do.
I bet you're right. I bet you.
Yeah, cause I remember that we got a lot of questions in there.
So other news, finally got back to us with the Regional Services Support Fund, what that's gonna look like. So that fund is now set at $18 million for the province. And it's not tied to property assessments anymore. It's been forced from anything to do with municipal taxation. It's $18 million. Our portion of that is $630,000. So it's slightly less. It was 18.5 million last year. So now it's 18 million set. So we're getting slightly less this year, not a lot. I think last year we had 638,000, this year 630,000. The reason that we get 630,000 out of 18 million, all regions, is because our property assessment per capita is higher than average. So that's a piece of the calculation of how they figure out how much to allocate to us. So our property assessment per capita is higher than average, so we get less. We are the second lowest recipient of this money in the province, next to King's RSC, which is Sussex area. Other areas, and I've had this argument several times. Other regions that are similar to us in population would be like in the $1 million range. It's just because of our property assessment. The only reason our property assessment per capita is higher is it's Point Lepreau.
But did you
And
not
it's
just?
funny because one of the pros went down. Their actual, the assessment on that plant went down.
But if I just look at residential property assessment compared to residential property assessment, we are below average.
So, but didn't you say they took that out of the calculation of the formula?
No,
I thought you just said they took the assessment part out of the formula.
they took the amount of money is not tied to the assessments, but they still use property assessment in calculating how much we get.
Oh, okay.
It's government math, Al. Don't ask me to explain it. So we've also had a lot of interest in our building permit application system that we built that in-house here. And so we've had a few other RSCs come visit us. They wanted to actually pay us to use it. Said, no, we're not a software house and I'm not going to support that. And we have other things to do. But we were showing them how they could build their own, because this is, and it's more important that they build their own. That way they own it. They know it. They fix it. They're not responsible for it. Had a couple of discussions. I had a discussion with the CAO of St. Stephen concerning the airport. So there's some more work on that in the future. We spoke about that at our last committee meeting. And I was part of a small working group to secure funding from ESIC for our community development stuff. We used to have to apply every year, but now that they have OPT4 out, which is a 5-year plan, also was important to have a multi-year agreement between ESIC, so we don't have to keep going back and questioning whether or not we're going to get funding. So I think we're pretty close and ready to sign that, and that'd be funding secured through 2030, so 5 years. Cool. That's my report, Mr. Jarrett.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments on the report? Now we move to the financial report.
Financial report.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to dig through the nitty gritty, but the most important part of that is the summary income statement, or best picture, I think, to give you of what's happening is the summary income, which is the first one. And our target, that percent of annual budget, which is in May, so it's 5 out of 12 months. So your target is 42.6%.
We're under.
So our revenue, we're slightly under in total. So that's only because we're waiting on a couple of grants to come through that haven't been paid yet. Solid waste is actually sitting slightly over budget, so that's in good shape. In expenditure, we are under expense except for Public Safety Committee, and the reason for that is that was the Fundy Bay dog rescue. I mean, it's a really small budget. So that's why that's sitting there.
So while you bring that up, I can work it into the agenda. Under correspondence, we got a card from the Bay Fundy Dog Rescue. So thank you, card, and thank you for the very generous donation sharing. So card, the camera picks that up or not?
Down to me, it'll pick it up.
There we go. Wow. Look at that. There we go.
And I did get an email after the meeting from her, and she has posted quite a bit, thanking all the board on social media quite a bit. She was quite satisfied with what she.
Well, and I'll get you as well. Yeah, so anyway, back to my financials. Yeah, so the expenses are all under the target. It's what we're trying to do. So the total surplus we're running currently is 348,000. Vast majority of that is in solid waste. There's a couple that are running in deficit, but that's only because we paid big bills up front, got the revenue later. Any, I have to take any questions on.
We were halfway through the year. I've been down to the filter, I went right on. if not better. Okay, that brings us to Q&A with the public. Any Q&A, yeah?
Not have any questions, Mr. Chair?
None? Okay, I have to have a motion now, I guess, to go to closed session. I need a motion to go to closed session. Well, second by. Yeah, Denny,
Yeah.
you made a motion, you
No,
second?
Harvey made.
Harvey, then you second, okay, gotcha. Question or comment, moving into a closed session, all those in favor signify by saying aye.